Hello, everybody, and welcome as the first half runs out to the first Cleveland Browns halftime show of the season. I am Mr. Moohead, your perennial host, except for last year when it was just so pathetic that I just couldn't do it anymore. But, things change as we get a little older. And I know that this restarting up of the halftime and postgame shows will probably get off to a rather slow start in terms of viewership is concerned. But that's all right, because as long as this young team tries, that's really all I'm interested in seeing. And in the first half, they put up a credible first half. Let's look at the bottom line here. We weren't quite ready in the beginning, and Pittsburgh took advantage of that, blocked a punt, fell on it in the end zone. So we got off to a bad start. We had a nice drive, abetted by a pass interference call, and better field position than the Steelers had. We took advantage of the one drive that we had. We went in for a score. We did not take advantage of Casey Williams beating Joe Hayden deep, which is what we saw a lot of last year. Although it wasn't Casey Williams, it was everybody else. And he's got to be, Casey Williams has to be a little bit more aware of where he is on the field to get his feet down in a situation like that. And the ball was thrown too much to the outside of the receiver. All right. The final drive, Schobert got his hand on the ball and it fell into Antonio Brown's hands. Look, it can happen that way. I think Schobert had good coverage in the end zone, too, on Jesse James on the touchdown pass, but the ball was a laser. We know that you give Roethlisberger time to throw. You only rush 3, and I understand you're down on the goal line, and there shouldn't be creases, but that guy's got a cannon for an arm, and he slipped the ball through. But I thought the coverage was good on that. Not real happy with allowing the outside release moves by Antonio Brown, making yardage a little bit too easy for the Steelers on the last possession. Look, we make young team mistakes, and this is not a referendum on the Cleveland Browns' future by any stretch of the imagination. Playing Pittsburgh, who is considered one of the top 4 teams in the National Football League, that says a lot. That you played them tough in the first half, and we played physically, and I think 4439 is saying in the chat room, did Kizer get hurt on that penalty play? I don't think so. I think that the helmet was more delivered at his ribs than at his arm, if you look at the replay of that. Hi to General Dog. Brown's offensive line stinks and our defense isn't getting penetration. I find that to be false. I would say that the defensive line against the run has been getting penetration. I'd say that in passing situations, not enough pressure as far as pass rush on Ben Roethlisberger. I agree that Schobert is a nice surprise with General Dog, but I think that he's more of a coverage linebacker, and I think he is covering a fair amount of ground. Can't complain about that. So, hi, Kahuna Bone. Thank you, and welcome back to you, too. There's a hurricane today that's going right through my house and might destroy my house in Florida, but I'm in South Carolina for the summer season, and I can't worry about that kind of stuff right now. Hi to Guest 572, Big Lurker UK, Kahuna Bone U, Guest 659, General Dog, along the line, just watching here on Moohead Radio. As far as the Browns are concerned, the running game couldn't get off. And that is going to be the hardest thing for the Cleveland Browns to win football games, because really, look at this for what it is, folks. This is trying to break in a young 21-year-old quarterback and not putting him into bad situations. You saw early in the game on the 3rd and longs with the penalties and with the lost yardage that, he doesn't know what to do yet. He's 21 years old. He held onto the ball too long and he took sacks, and that's needless danger. We've got to be able to run the football. We've got to create creases for our running backs. And that means that Crowell has to hit the line hard, and the offensive line has to open up holes. We invested a lot of money in that offensive line, and without ball possession, right now, the Browns will not beat anybody unless they are able to move things more toward a ball control offense and physicality with defense. things that I'm really pleased about. Some of the guys in the secondary have done a pretty good job. Alexander has done a nice job in the first half. I see his number flying all over the field. Jamar Taylor needs to make that interception. You see, this is the fine line of success and failure for a young team like the Cleveland Browns. You know, you're going to have a chance at a couple of plays, and Kaysen Williams, long pass that was wasted by him being out of bounds, and the missed interception by Jamar Taylor, that could have converted at least 10 points for the Cleveland Browns. And we just aren't really set to move the ball down the field. And, you know, my concern is that the wide receivers don't appear to be any better than what I thought they were. And probably the greatest concern I have, I mean, I'm not so worried about the offensive line. They're just gelling. They're getting to know one another. The defensive line is without Myles Garrett and without Danny Shelton, but still did a very credible job in stopping the run. Didn't do as good a job getting through, but it's blitz schemes that get through, and the Browns stopped running blitz schemes in the last possession of the first half and really paid for it and gave up a lot of real estate. But the most disappointing thing are the wide receivers. I mean, we're counting on guys like Coleman to do something. Ricardo Lewis, who I never believed would do anything. Njoku, who's just extremely young, one catch there. And the interference penalty on an overthrown ball. Kaysen Williams, who couldn't be familiar with the offense at this point in time. I got no qualms with him. But looking at the Brit has been invisible. You know, right now I'd say that the problem with the Browns is that if they don't run the football, it doesn't look like the forward pass is going to be able to sustain drives because the receivers just aren't open. And the problem for a young quarterback is if you're told not to force the ball into unusually tight windows, then one of two things has to happen. You have to throw the ball out of bounds, or in the fast real time of the NFL, you're going to get hit, you're going to get sacked, and that's the danger. 66 of them last year for the Cleveland Browns, and it's nothing that we want to expose DeShone Kizer to. As far as how has Kizer looked, pretty composed on the overall. I mean, when he steps in and lets the ball go, he's got a hell of an arm, but he's got no receivers really that he's working with. And the running game isn't helping him out. And Hugh Jackson has to continue to try to run the football, because losing early in the season is what's kind of expected for the Cleveland Browns. I don't think anybody is expecting anything different from them. However, losing a quarterback would be the worst possible scenario. All right. I just I don't know. The notion of, oh, we're going to try to win, we're going to do this, we're going to open up the playbook, I think it's a real bad scenario for Kizer, because he can get hurt very easily. And you see guys like Shazier have no problem in the late hit. In fact, the Pittsburgh Steelers are known, if Donald Trump is the art of the deal, they are the art of the cheap shot. Yeah, and I agree, General Dog. Kizer is doing well for how inexperienced he is. Under 700 snaps at Notre Dame. This is not easy. Hi to Jeff and Bama. How you doing, buddy? It's good to see you. And Cody from Pennsylvania. It's nice seeing familiar names popping in and out. And Dwayne Bowe, go back to wherever you came from. No, the real Dwayne Bowe. I'm not. You're welcome here. The fake Dwayne Bowe. So, well, what else is there for me to say? I mean, we saw little Matthew Day catching the ball out of the backfield. There was one throw in which Duke Johnson told Kizer, you got to loop and put more air under the ball. And that was a downfield strike that also where he had about a step and a half on somebody. So, you know, on the overall, I would say that, you know, if the Browns take advantage of the limited opportunities that they have, there is a chance that they could be even ahead in this game. But I think that's expecting too much, realistically. I just don't believe that teams take advantage of every opportunity they have. The problem is the Browns' opportunities are so limited because our unfortunately, our wide receivers are just defunct. And so there you have that. Jeffrey Fry, how you doing? Where is Britt? Good question. It's a bad free agent pickup. He was invisible in the preseason. I have two chat rooms going here if you're wondering. One on mooheadradio.com if you want to go there, or on the YouTube stream that I put up on Twitter. So there are two ways to chat on the Browns halftime and post-game shows. Yeah, I don't know. Britt's been invisible. And that is the kind of thing when you don't do anything in the draft to strengthen yourself by a wide receiver, and that's the free agent you bring in, that becomes a massive problem. To be down 14-7, the problem is the Steelers are going to get the ball to begin the second half, and the defense has to come out robustly, to put it succinctly. The Browns need to get their hands on Roethlisberger and put a hit on him that he will remember. And that last drive kind of makes me a little bit concerned because the defense looked like it fell back on its heels. The one play to Antonio Brown where Jamar Taylor just laid flat-footed and just, Antonio Brown ran around him. You can't, can't really do anything about that unless tell your guys, get on your toes, man. You just don't want to be back on your heels. We haven't really had much of a chance to see Jabril Peppers except on one really return up the middle of the field. The other, he just kind of ran out of bounds. I think Pittsburgh is trying to kick to narrow sides of the field to keep the ball away from him. And other than that, it is what it is, folks. If you would have said to be down 14-7 at half, especially after the catastrophic opening of the game, I'm happy where we are. I'm content. No, I'm not satisfied losing to teams week after week. But again, I have an open mind to say, hey, this is an opportunity for us to get better. We are playing up to the speed of the game, which is better than I've seen in the past. We haven't gone pussy on the field, which is better than I've seen in the past. The defense looks far more professional than the offense looks, in the sense that people are positioned to the right place. Like I said before, Schobert was in the right place twice, an exceptional throw by Roethlisberger in the end zone, and a good bounce for the Steelers. And that's really the difference in this football game right now. We're starting the third quarter, and I'll be back after the game on the Browns post-game show. Don't you miss it. I'll be putting the link up over at theobr.com and also on Twitter. And thanks to Barry McBride for allowing me to share some of this over with the folks at theobr.com. And until after the game, let's hope for a good and entertaining second half. Bye-bye now.